It's not unusual for a game to become a special experience thanks to the circumstances in which you've played it. I know that Skyward Sword is not everyone's cup of tea, still being highly divisive nowadays even after a recent re-release on the Switch, but for me, Skyward Sword is a huge package of good memories and emotions, and probably that's because of the impression that the first hours of the game gave to me. I recognize that Skyward Sword is far from perfect. I have issues with the game, like the lack of connection in the world and the constant recycling of areas in the game. But none of those were issues to me in the Christmas of 2011 when I played the game for the first time. I think it's important to give some context. Skyward Sword was my second Zelda game. I'm a relatively new Nintendo fan, considering that my first console from the company was the Wii in 2010. My interest started when I played Ocarina of Time. The game blew my mind at the time, it was the best experience I've ever had with a video game. So, of course, I started to search for other Zelda games, and to my luck, a new one was on the corner, Skyward Sword. I bought it at the start of December with money from my parents, and then I didn't open the present until the midnight of December 24. Now, the idea behind that is to keep the magic of Christmas alive. And I know this sounds kind of silly, and in reality, I was a teenager desperately trying to recreate that fantastic feeling that I always felt when I was a kid. Yeah, something close to that. The funny thing is, it actually worked pretty well. After Christmas dinner, I opened the presents, which by the way was a great special edition with a disc of the Zelda Orchestra, and started playing the game. Then, from midnight to 3 in the morning, I played the whole intro, until the point in which Link arrives on the surface. It definitely is a lengthy introduction, which by this point it's nothing new to the series, seeing that Twilight Princess also had one. But what really differs here is how Skyward Sword presents its character in such a delightful way to watch, that we have never seen in the series before. From the moment that the camera shows two Loft Wings flying and a bombastic orchestrated piece starts to play, I was already into the world. Things only got better seconds later when we hear Zelda singing the Ballad of Goddess. Then we have basically a compilation of moments where the characters that live in Skyloft can interact with each other, showing their motivations and their personalities. And again, that's nothing new for Zelda, but the characters are the big highlight here, mainly the trio Link, Zelda and Grooves. Grooves is clearly the third wheel here. He has an unrequited love for Zelda and becomes aggressive to Link out of jealousy. He has some nice moments at the start of the game, but he starts to shine later in the adventure. The relationship between Link and Zelda, on the other hand, is the big star of the game. Maybe I'm too soft-hearted, but every time that both of them are on the screen, I'm amused by their chemistry. It's nothing totally new or groundbreaking, but it is a love story about two childhood friends written in a very nice and sweet manner. Zelda is a caring person clearly in love with Link. She's worried about him because he's a sleephead that probably didn't study enough for his night test, but she also always gives support when necessary, defending Link from the bullying that Grooves makes. And even though Link doesn't say a single word in the game, it's clear by his expressions that he values their friendship just as much as her. All that characterization is established during those initial scenes, and here's why they are important. From the exact moment that Zelda is abducted, you care a lot for her. I mean, I cared. I can't say for sure that everyone felt the same thing. I just think that it is a nice way to tie story and gameplay, motivating the player with a goal that actually is enticing, and not a mechanical story event. When I compare to the intro of Twilight Princess, I just think that Skyward Sword did way better. None of the characters in the intro of Twilight Princess felt really important, and most of them barely appear in the game after that initial moment. Actually, the best character in the game takes a while to appear. And hey, I love Twilight Princess. I'm just saying that I don't like the intro in that game. Also, Skyward Sword has amazing characters models and animation. I was really impressed at the time by the animation on Skyward Sword. You can clearly see a high quality of motion capture that we've never seen in the series before, and in each of the dialogue the characters are expressing themselves with a nice loop animation. The character design is also a plus. You can probably guess the personality of every character just by looking at them. To add to all of that, we have amazing music. A bunch of sweet and beautiful tracks played during the start of the game, helping to establish a peaceful life in Skyloft and pointing the romantic moments. That intro is so powerful to me because a lot of things that we will see later in the game are way better because of what we saw at the beginning. Every encounter with Zelda was super special. The evolution of Cruz during the adventure was unexpected but really well made, and all the side quests involving each character in Skyloft were great thanks to that initial characterization. Skyward Sword has only one city, so the developers really tried their best to make it feel like a nice hub for the player. I understand that in the gameplay department, this intro is not the best, and Nintendo changed a lot of things in the remaster to make it less annoying. But during that night of Christmas in which I played the game, everything connected so nicely that it felt perfect, honestly. And a lot of times art is about that, about the way it can affect you on a personal level. To this day, Skyward Sword is one of my favorite games of all time, and I think a lot of that is thanks to the feeling that I had when starting the game on such a nice note. Of course, in conjunction with other elements like the fantastic dungeon design and the great use of motion controls. And that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!